If you struggle with binge eating, even though you feel like you have so much willpower in every other area of your life, this could be why. The reason is that binge eating is not a willpower issue. It is not a discipline issue. And anyone who tells you that you need to just have more discipline or more willpower, more control, and you'll stop binge eating has no idea what they're talking about, and they're probably a walking red flag. I'm going to give you 2 reasons as to why the binge eating could actually be playing out. The first one is that there could be a level of restriction at play. And hear me out, because I know that you might be sitting there going, but I don't restrict. I allow myself to have everything. I eat so consistently and adequately. But the reality is that restriction can come in so many different forms. Restriction can be physically, which we all know that's right in front of us. You might physically skip breakfast, or you might drink coffee instead of eating a meal. You might tell yourself not to have a snack. You might tell yourself you don't deserve to eat X, Y, and Z options. The second one is mentally. You might physically allow yourself to eat every food group that is out there, but you might be mentally restricting the portions that you are having. This could come from calorie counting, it could come from macro tracking, it could even just come from you telling yourself, I'm only allowed 2 Weet-Bix. Like, you have these very specific rules around what you can and can't have, but it kind of just plays out subconsciously because it's a habitual pattern. It could be something that you've actually been doing for years upon years upon years. Maybe it is something that you learned growing up as a child. Maybe it's something you learned from a previous diet that you have done, or just something that you've picked up along the way. But the third one is your subconscious forms of restriction. These are the forms of restriction that kind of play out without you even recognizing or realizing that they are even there. And these typically come in forms of you just doing particular behaviors around food that you don't even know exist. So for an example, you might subconsciously start to restrict what you're having throughout the day, knowing that you're going to be eating out at the end of the day. Subconsciously, you're saving your calories, which then might turn into a binge or overeating at the end of the day. There are so many different forms of restriction that can be at play. And like I said, you might be sitting here and thinking, but I do allow myself to have everything. And this is why I always say that there could be other forms of restriction that you don't even know exist, that are there. And they could also be fear foods or food rules. So if you have any foods in your life that you feel make you feel anxious, make you feel uneasy, you feel out of control around, they trigger a binge themselves, or you have any rules that it's very black or white, all or nothing way of thinking around food, that can also contribute to forms of restriction that can contribute to the binging. The second reason could be that your nervous system is so incredibly dysregulated. Your body cannot differ between psychological stress or physical stress. It responds the exact same way. It goes into a fight or flight response. So it doesn't matter if your body is stressed out because you have a deadline at work you have to meet, you've had a fight with your partner, friend, or because you're restricting and you're dieting, that's also a stress on the body, or because you are actually running from a grizzly bear in the wild. Your body responds in the exact same way. It goes into a survival mode. The difference is though, if you are in the wild, running from a grizzly bear, you eventually get to a place where that bear is no longer there. Your cortisol, stress hormone, can drop back down, your nervous system regulates, and you understand that you are safe. But in today's world, you're just jumping from stress to stress to stress to stress to stress. You're never giving your body a break. Now, our bodies like and can handle a little bit of stress. It is healthy for our body to experience a little bit of stress. But as soon as that acute stress turns into chronic stress, that is when it can become incredibly dangerous for your health. But it's also when you can start to turn to food to regulate through that stress. You see, eating and binging, it is a dopamine hit. Just like when you want to come home from a day of work and you want to brain rot or scroll through social media because it feels like you are relaxing, which whole nother video we can do on that, but doom scrolling on social media is not relaxing your nervous system in any way, shape or form, even though it feels like, it is something that you crave to do. Food and eating gives that same sort of dopamine hit. And so if you are not doing anything to actually regulate your nervous system, to allow your cortisol, your stress hormone, to come back down, of course, your body is going to go searching for a way of releasing that stress and those emotions through another form. And food is the one thing that is always there. It is easy, it is accessible, it is convenient, it is reliable, and it actually makes you feel good in the moment of eating the food. The aftermath, of course, that guilt, that shame, that frustration is awful. It is such an instant gratification turning to the food. And you end up learning it as a habitual pattern. If you're somebody who comes home from work and as soon as you walk through that door, you head to the kitchen. Can't sleep at nighttime, you head to the kitchen. Just had a fight with somebody, head to the kitchen. Feeling really sad, head to the kitchen. Like, it becomes a habitual pattern and it's just second nature. And a lot of the time you might not even recognize or realize what is happening or what is playing out until afterwards. When that guilt and that shame starts to settle in, you're like, why did I do that? Now I actually feel even worse. Now, these are just 2 reasons as to why the binging could be there. There is there are so many more reasons as well. And this is why I say that this journey is like an onion. And you will peel back those first few layers. And I guarantee you'll be like, oh my goodness, there is so much more that is underneath here. More than I ever even realized existed. And until you actually get to the root driving factor for you individually as to what is contributing to your binging, it's never going to change. No matter how many diets you go on, no matter how many forms of restriction or taking back more control or putting stricter rules in place, until you actually address the root cause, the binging will not go away. But I do want this to be a reminder that binge eating, it is not a willpower nor a discipline issue. If it was that easy, as just having more willpower, having more discipline, we wouldn't be here. This journey would actually not exist. Because I can guarantee you show up to work. You show up for your partner, for your friends, you go to the gym, you exercise. Like, there will be other areas of your life where you have the discipline to follow through on those things. So the discipline is there in you. Then this is why it's not a discipline issue. It goes much, much deeper than that. I wish this journey was as easy as flicking a switch. Unfortunately, it is not.